All day, I've gone back and forth on what exactly to say here. I had many different ideas, including probably what was the initial idea of doing something that ultimately was a huge disrespect. And I want to talk about it a little bit, but we'll get into better remembrances. In that, I was going to give attention to those who enjoy disparaging the memory of the deceased. And we all know that I'm talking about the social justice warriors, the virtue signalers, the white knights, who, anytime someone slips up, makes a mistake, they pounce on it because they feel they are perfect. They feel that they do not have a complicated legacy, which is something we've heard all day. We hear more and more now when someone passes away, no matter who it is. The truth to that, what I just said, is that unless you are Fred Rogers, which you are not because he is deceased, you have a complicated legacy. The difference is you probably won't have to face up to it, and you probably won't be called out on it because no one cares about you. And the people who enjoy going on and being the white knights, the heroes, are the ones who don't realize that and don't have the life that people will give a shit about because they have to do that. That is what they do. That is what they do to make themselves feel more important. But I don't want to dwell on that. I've seen people, saying all day, oh, I took this person off social media, that person off social media. I unfollowed someone. I did. I really did. I mean, it was just totally uncalled for. It's a total sign of the current society and culture where everybody is the main character. And that's what social media did. That's what being online did, although we've been online for 30 years. I've been online for 30 years now, and it really didn't take off until social media. But, everybody thinks they're the star, and everybody thinks that they're perfect, and they aren't. I have a complicated legacy. You have a complicated legacy, and that's how it is. Now then, I've thought about this day for a while. It's a long time. I mean, we've been facing always had celebrity deaths and wrestling deaths, of course, you can go back to Brody. I don't remember that. The first big three I remember would be Andre, Kerry, and Dino in early 93. And then, of course, you get into the late 90s where you had Owen, which Owen was, that was the shocking, tragic. That was the one because it was live at a show, and it was huge. To me, I think the biggest one up to that, Andre was big, Carrie, but I think the biggest one to me up to that point was Gorilla Monsoon, because he was the voice. He was beloved. He just seemed like this wonderful grandfather, even though he was only 62. He just felt older. He had that presence, that respectful presence. So that was a big one. That was probably the biggest for me up to that point. Then we get into the early 2000s, and you have it's just like every week. Even the wrestlers say, my phone was ringing every week, and I'm like, who's dead now? Then we get into the past, 10 to 15 years. You have Savage, Warrior, Piper, and Dusty. Of course, all of those hit me in a different way. So, thinking about with Hulk Hogan being up until today alive, I would think about it. I would think about, wow, it's really going to feel different when he's gone. It's going to be a weird day. And it was. It truly, truly was. I can't say that I'm numb, but I don't visibly get upset. But at the same time, it just feels like something big is gone. It's the end. It's truly the end of an era. he was the greatest sports entertainer of all time. There is no doubt about that. And the greatest WWF, WWE superstar of all time. Did I say greatest wrestler? No. I mean, the non-wrestling fans, the casuals, they'll say greatest wrestler. You and I think we should classify as the greatest sports entertainer. It was on social media today that I just pointed out the one thing that I've always heard I've always said when I hear people say, well, Austin this, Austin that. Here's the deal. In the 80s, there were Hulk shirts everywhere. They weren't as readily available. You pretty much had to order one or go to a live event. I don't remember seeing Hulk Hogan actual shirts in stores. Austin shirts were everywhere. I mean, you could buy them everywhere, no matter where you went, and they were everywhere you went. So, if you want to talk about merchandise sales, I mean, Austin could be the bigger one. Plus, he had one Hulk Hogan figure. The LJN, and of course the later two. But I mean, that one is there was 10 million different Austins. We're not going to get into that. The point of this story is that everybody and their grandmother knew who Hulk Hogan was. I may have told the story here before. I remember the day after the afternoon, whatever, after the main event where Andre ran in and choked Hogan after the Bundy match. And my family is walking into an Ames store, and I guess me and my dad were talking about it. I know we had watched it, and this little old lady just comes up to me and my dad goes, "Andre really got him last night, huh?" And my dad said something funny to her, and they laughed. I mean, it was like the typical little old lady, not like the old lady now that looks, 45. It was the old granny with the pearls, and it was just great. And my own grandmother, who I don't really refer to as that because we were not close, even she knew Hulk Hogan. So, saying that absolutely everybody knew Hulk Hogan. Fast forward to my high school years in the Attitude Era. With Austin, everywhere, Austin 316. But there were teachers who were in their prime years, the prime earning years, so they're not old. They didn't know who Steve Austin was. I remember somebody mentioned Steve Austin, and the teacher said, "Is that the $6 million man?" And he's like, "No, that's Ted DiBiase," because he didn't know who the $6 million man was, also Steve Austin. And she didn't know who Stone Cold was. And, to me, that's just, everybody knew Hulk Hogan. I'm not disparaging Austin. I'm just saying that everybody knew Hulk Hogan. That's before, he had done Rocky, but that's before he did any movies or any big, star. He was the star, the focal point of a movie. So there will never be another one. There will never be another Hulk Hogan. And, I'm going to do more remembrances, more anecdotes in the blog, because I think one thing that I've always taken to heart is in the early days of the blog, when it was really popular, because people like to read then. Now they just watch videos and TikTok. Is that my obituaries, remembrances, people loved them. People thought they were great. And I'm not saying, I'm the great, right, or anything like that. No, it's just that I think I tell the best remembered stories that way, do the best tributes that way. So I think we'll do more on there. Can show more memorabilia on there. I just thought that was a nice thing to have up there, and I had it handy. And I've also decided that he will never leave the masthead of the blog, the main picture. It's me and him, and it has been for most of the run of the blog. The blog's older than that picture, but so it wouldn't have been right away, but it's one of my pictures with him. And not to go back to the detractors, but there's a time I can pinpoint when I decided it would never leave the top of the blog. my photo with him, and that is, I don't even remember when. I mean, I guess it was in the past 10 years. And I was on Twitter. Oh, there's, red alert right there. And I saw, you see on all the social medias, you see things from people you don't follow that you don't know. And it's like, what is this? So one of the current crop of wrestling journalists, wasn't Uncle Dave, it wasn't Dave Meltzer. I was a longtime Meltzer reader, even though I didn't agree with everything he said, and I don't now either. But I saw something written by one of these writers, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know the name. I just saw that whatever it was, I don't remember the topic. I remember his name. I'm not going to say it here. If you want to ask me who it was, feel free. But I disagreed with what he said, and I said, who is this person? Why are people, why is this? Why am I seeing this? I must have, commented on it or something. And this person acted like, oh my, like I should have known who he was, and oh my God. And I'm like, sorry, I don't know who you are, pal, So then he, organized. He got his cancel culture group, whatever we want to call it, his little, followers. He has Hulk Hogan and him as a picture on his blog. Get him! And it's like, really? If you want to shut me up, you got to do better than that. I don't even know who the hell you are. And I've always offered, if anyone wants to shut me up, I tell people if I'm going to be somewhere at a convention or something, I don't make any bones about it. You could come to my house. I don't care. When you ain't got nothing to lose, you don't care. So, I don't give into things like that. I don't fall for that stuff. So, just after a couple, you get a couple, ass lickers of his that were like, yeah, he sucks. He likes Hogan. And then most of them were just like, this is ridiculous. What the hell are you doing, man? And he just ended up blocking me. So I'm blocked by this wrestling journalist because I dared have a picture of me in the Hulkster on as the main photo on my blog. So I'm proud of that. I am proud of that. I will always be a Hulkamaniac because of that alone. But you know what else? Why? Because the Hulk Hogan character will live forever. Terry Bollea is gone. Did I meet Terry Bollea when I met Hulk Hogan? I don't know. But when I did meet Hulk Hogan, the several times that I did meet him, I looked into the eyes of a character who I'd been watching on TV all of my life. And he made me feel at ease. And everybody in those lines, like I said, it was several times, no matter who they were or what they looked like, he treated them exactly the same. And to me, right there, that is what matters. That's what matters. And for the biggest star that this business has ever seen to be like that, and some of the smaller ones, and not so small ones, but to not be like that at all, that's telling. That is very telling. I will always be a Hulkamaniac. Always.